Good morning. I'm not sure if anybody would be watching this, but I decided to start this another idea that came into my video log because I haven't been, just recently I just kind of went back to church this last Sunday and heard a very inspiring talk. And I don't know, I just realized, I haven't really been, I grew up, you know, in church and I grew up studying scriptures and things like that. And I actually served a mission for my church and just been away from it all for the pandemic made it easy for an easy excuse for me to go, oh, I can't go to church, it's the pandemic, and plus churches were closed. But I didn't make an effort to. There was meetings that were happening online, and I didn't really participate. um, I guess where some people were looking for God the most, I wasn't. I Not that I ever denied him. um, I believe in God. I just didn't feel, being where I'm at in my life. I guess I'm just kind of just drifting along and just kind of trying to figure out my pathway and things like that. And um, I guess that's as far as explanation goes there. Uh, but after kind of like keeping records or starting, what happened was it started with something that usually I've noticed in my life, my pattern. It's not necessarily that I need something and then I go to God, or the pattern's switched. Because some people look for God and when they're in trouble. Um, I tend to go looking from after I found something that I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. Like I feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose somehow. I don't know. I feel like I'm fulfilling something. Like I can feel a difference in my life. Like, hey, I think I'm supposed to be doing this. And I think because it's impacting other people. If it impacts other people, that's what causes me to turn to Him, because it's sort of like, oh, I must be fulfilling something, and then it starts letting me think more spiritually. But if I'm just drifting around and stuff like that, I don't feel close to Him because I'm like, I know I'm not fulfilling my purpose. So coming to Him is like, yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm just coming to you, and yeah, see me as I am. I'm not really doing anything to really help. Your other children are here. I'm just out for myself, kind of thing. Um, so recently, I started up this reaction channel, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I just remember being inspired by an artist. And this wasn't necessarily like a spiritual medium. It wasn't like finding God through church or anything. It was just, and it was interesting, that artist released a song called Church. But things started like that artist was reaching me, and he's not necessarily claiming to be an emissary or a messenger of any sort. He did talk about believing in a higher power. He doesn't know what it is, but he does like kind of refer to it in there. He has like some idea of that he is reaching out to something higher than himself, because he's realizing he was on his last legs, I think. So that was interesting. Plus, his music inspired me, and then all of a sudden I opened up this rabbit hole, and I was doing all these reactions and learning, and then tapping into my gift, being that I was given with music, that I haven't really messed around with. And so I think that's part of it. Like, God's given us gifts and stuff that we're supposed to share, and if we don't share them, you're gonna feel it. Because other people aren't receiving the light or the benefits of those gifts that He's given. It's not mine. What I mean, He's given me those special gifts, and so it was meant for me to share. Um, and so if I'm not doing that, then I'm being greedy. So as I started doing that, as I started like sharing and meeting people and music, start sharing my music more, that's when I became more inclined to come back to church, because I'm just starting to feel more closer to God. Like, hey, I feel like I'm starting to do something I'm supposed to do here. So that's the opening segment I'm going to do for this. I'll probably split this video up right after this to start this part of my vlog. I said I was going to start a church vlog, but I feel I was joking about that in one of my vlogs. And I think this one is more, this is the beginning of what I'm going to be calling a scripture log, because growing up, I knew, we're taught we're supposed to read our scriptures and always stay close to God by reading His Word and all that kind of stuff. But, the Bible has been all over the world. I read the children's Bible all the way through when I was young. Like, I read that to my brother. And to this day, he claims, that's what's helped him to become such an avid reader, was me reading to him when he was young. It turns out, when I was reading and I learned to read, obviously I'm older, so I learned to read before him. So I was reading to him. He has a genius mind. So he's just picking up all this intel that I'm dropping on him from this children's Bible. And it was funny because it was something that I kind of did on my own. Parents didn't even know. I would just be, when they're gone, I would just crack open this children's Bible and read it to my little brother. Man, he's a reader today. He's read every book. He's read way more books than I have. I mean, I could probably count with 2 hands how many books I've actually gone all the way through and finished. He's read hundreds already. And so he still gives me credit for that. He's like, if it wasn't for you opening that door for me, I'm like, wow, really? Just reading the children's Bible? So obviously the impacts of this book have had, there's a lot of controversy surrounding it all over the world. There's also a lot of stories and a lot of like healing stories. There's a lot. Wars over, it's interesting. But funny enough, growing up in a family and growing up in the church, I've never read the whole thing. Like, as far as the adult version, and there's different versions, obviously. The one I grew up with is the King James version. So I decided to make a commitment now to keep it simple. My everyday vlog, it's going to help me track my days too. I said, man, I should finish this thing. And it wouldn't be that hard if I did a chapter a day. And like reacting to it, I guess, or vlogging with it, it's going to be a way for me to keep track of myself. And for anybody that's, been an avid reader or studier or happens along my vlog to be, throwing me some intel or some, information regarding, any other connections to what I'm reading. Like, I'm not trying to be a scholar here. I'm just trying to get through it. And if I have ideas pop into my head, I might just mention it in the vlog just to be like, hey, wow, that's interesting. And I know it's supposed to be a personal exercise, and I guess it's personal to me, as far as, doing this in a public setting. It does kind of open my mind up a little more to think about anyone else that might be tapping into it. So that's just my thoughts why I'm doing this, as far as why I'm starting this whole deal. And it sort of like helps me start out my day with something that kind of helped complete part of my upbringing, what I was taught as in my youth. Like, I've kind of strayed away from that. Now it's sort of like, hey, let's get back on track. And you're always taught to read and study, and I haven't done that for a long, long time. So here I am, getting ready to start from the very beginning. Where best to start than with Genesis. I've read probably that first chapter, second chapter, third chapter. I've tried to read through the book, and I just end up falling down somewhere around the 30th chapter with all the who begot who. But and then you get into like just going through that journey. I never really got through the rest of it. So, and then of course there's the Bibles there's the stories that have been extracted from all of it. those stories I'm aware of. I'm sure a lot of people are, with movies that have been made and other books that have been written about it. But this is just reading it, reading it straight out. Um, I'm just going to read the header or just the chapter heading to say chapter 1 of Genesis and just read the words as they were written, as they are now, that have passed down for many generations. And so that's it. That's the simplicity of this vlog. All right, that's why I'm starting it. Let's begin with chapter 1 today.